Jeff Stanek here with Figured Out Baseball. Hope everybody's doing well today. I wanted to talk with you briefly about an experience that I had last weekend for the first time. So I don't have any kids that are old enough to play organized baseball yet, but I have a friend who last weekend I attended a youth practice with. There was a park adjacent to the baseball field, so he took his younger kids and I took my kids to the park while we watched baseball practice. And what I saw for 2 hours really shocked me and kind of frightened me for the state of youth baseball. There were about 5 parents running practice, and for 2 hours, in a 2-hour practice, here's what I saw. For the first hour and 40 minutes, it was one coach throwing to one hitter at a time, and I don't know how many kids are on the team, 15 or whatever. If it's 15 kids in a team, one kid hitting, 14 kids standing out in the field with their hands behind their backs, picking grass, picking flowers, looking at butterflies, the typical stuff you hear about youth baseball. For the last 20 minutes of practice, they did infield, outfield, where it looked like every kid got 1 to 2 ground balls. Outfielders got 1 ground ball, threw it to second base. Infielders might have gotten 2 balls to throw it over to first. That was it. That was all they did for the whole practice. In a 2-hour practice, my friend's kid, a 6-year-old, on this 6 through 9-year-old team, my friend's 6-year-old got probably 10 to 15 swings, somewhere in that range, and then got 1 ground ball in the outfield and got to throw it to second base, and that was it. Coaches of youth baseball teams, please take some time to prep before practice. Take some time to put a practice plan together. I don't know if there's a head coach of this team, but I do know that there are what are known in at least in this area as power parents, power dads who run these practices. And they, some of them apparently have a baseball background, or at least played at the high school level. I don't know about beyond that. I don't know what their coaching background is. It can't be very extensive if this is what's happening at practice. Let me give you some ideas. In a practice, no matter how many kids you have or no matter what kind of space you have, at this practice that I watched, it was just a field with a backstop and some chain link fence going up the side of the field, and that was it. No cages or anything like that, and certainly no other special equipment, no pitching machine or anything of that nature. There's still ways to maximize the time at practice. You can have the one kid hitting live batting practice on the field, but you could also bring some tees and have some kids either hitting, behind the backstop into the backstop, or even up the sides of the chain link fence. If you hit close enough to the fence, and these kids are small, they're not going to hit the ball that far. You can hit the ball into the chain link fence off of a tee and get some swings in that way. A big part of developing young hitters is just to have them get a feel for swinging the bat, for developing a good bat path, for getting some rhythm in their swing, for figuring out what a good place to start their swing is, wherever they feel comfortable, whatever is going to produce the best swing. But the more swings they take, the more comfortable they're going to get with their swing. You don't, of course, want to make them mechanical, but I don't think you need to do that on a tee. I think you can be as aggressive as you want to be on a tee. You're just practicing what your swing is. You're trying to repeat whatever you want your swing to be. You're trying to repeat that, right? So I think that can be done. I think that you could bring wiffle balls to practice and take a group of players into the outfield where they're far enough away they're not going to get hit by a batted ball, and just throw some wiffle balls to kids. Let kids hit with wiffle ball. For kids that have a hard time making contact, bring a fat bat, a fat barrel bat, and let kids that have a hard time making contact make some more contact, so you build some confidence. Let them have some fun. You can even take some bases out there and have them run some short bases, like the little throwdown bases they sell at any sporting goods store. That's on the offensive side of things. On the defensive side of things, you can take one group aside and do some defensive stuff. So you could have like a group that's hitting, Group A. Group B is in the field and they're catching balls that are being hit by the players. That's fine to do with one group. Then you can have a third group that's working on some defensive stuff, and those groups can switch throughout practice, so they're doing something different. But in the outfield stuff, you can do something as super simple with infielders as like a little triangle drill, or you can do it with a square, I guess, as well. But basically, you have kids that are 15 to 25 feet apart, maybe 30 feet apart, depending how old they are. You can kind of judge how far apart they need to be. But if you have kids in a triangle, so I start with the ball. I roll the ball to the person to my left. That person catches it and then throws it to the person on their left. That person catches the ball and then rolls me a ground ball. I catch it, I throw it to the person to my left. So in a game in the infield, unless you're playing first, if you're playing second base, shortstop, third base, you're catching the ball and you're throwing it to your left, right? kind of in a triangle, basically. So this drill is sort of simulating that. I should be catching a ground ball and then throwing. And the next time I should be receiving and then throwing a ground ball. The next time I catch a ground ball and throw. The next time around, I receive and then throw a ground ball. That way, in a triangle, you can get a lot of reps in really quickly of catching a ground ball. Just when you're talking about 6 through 9 year olds, especially, you're just establishing basics. Establish the basic setup for what a stance should look like in the infield. Establish some basic footwork. There's a coach on Figured Out Baseball who I'll link his videos. He coaches at a Division II school in Iowa, Coach Lewis. He has some really great videos on establishing some really basic infield stuff, right? And I'll link those videos, but there's so many other good videos on Figured Out Baseball, whether you're talking about the hitting stuff we were doing, these little infield drills that you can do. You can do the same thing with outfielders. I mean, you can have 2 groups in the outfield, like two lines basically that are as far apart as you need them to be, as far away from you as the coach as they need to be, and just underhand flip some fly balls to them so they can practice proper fundamentals for catching a fly ball. Right? Catching it, in front of your eyes and above your forehead, and just get 2 hands, kind of catch it in the middle of your body, not off to one side or the other. Those very basic things are things that you can do and establish with these little groups at practice, and easily do it in 2 hours. And also another thing I didn't see at this practice is kids playing catch. Kids have to play catch. I mean, the basis of defense in the game of baseball is to catch and throw the ball. And that's what playing catch is, like warming up at the beginning of practice, playing catch, starting close and stretching it out. We have several videos on Figured Out Baseball that talk about catch play and how to progress in catch play. And it's no different for young kids than it is for older guys, except your max distance is going to be different. But playing catch is establishing a very basic fundamental of baseball, and it needs to be done every practice. That's how you establish arm strength. That's how you help kids to figure out where their glove is. Like, a lot of 6-year-olds have trouble just catching the ball on a consistent basis. In fact, a lot of 9-year-olds are the same way. It's a skill that you have to acquire, and that you acquire it by practicing it. So I would encourage all of you youth baseball coaches out there to just get a little bit creative. And obviously it might depend on how many coaches you have at practice. But even if you have 3-4 parents that are willing to help out at practice, you don't have to be any sort of a super coach to flip a fly ball, 15 or 20 feet to a kid, or to get kids in a triangle and kind of walk them through the basics of catching a ground ball and throwing it. And one of the beautiful things about figuredoutbaseball.com is that we have 500 free videos. If you're the coach, the head coach of one of these teams, and you have a mom helping at practice who's never played, or a dad helping at practice who's never played, has no basics, send them a link to a video and say, hey, this is a drill I'd like you to do at practice. Kind of watch this basic infield drill or this video on basic infield fundamentals. Then you'll have a pretty good idea of how to just help these kids to establish some basic fundamentals. You don't have to be a really high-level coach to do that. At figuredoutbaseball.com, again, we have 500 free videos from college and pro coaches. We have Figured Out Baseball Premium. $3.97 a month gets you access to Premium, where we have all of our new videos 501 and beyond. And we put videos on there every week. Again, kind of every part of the game is talked about and coached at figuredoutbaseball.com. So I hope all of you coaches out there that watch this video will take a chance to go to the website and figure out a way that you can make your practices better in the coming weeks. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Friday.